using
These
war
guys
to
insane?
implement
Are these
control
globalists
and
trying to
policy
start World War
changes.
III? It sure as heck seems that way. And clearly the destruction of the United States is their main goal, by the way. Just look at the markets. It's turmoil. A war in the Middle East is the perfect cover for these globalists to implement the Great Reset. Take away your cars, take away your cash, control your movements. They tried it during COVID. And now they're trying to make it happen again, fully. As my friend Tucker Carlson just said, they are going to use war to make these changes.
So they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway.
Yeah, this is all moving ahead full steam. Even though it's buried behind the headlines of Israel and Hamas, they want it that way. We are seeing the New World Order plans colliding in real time right now. And they're doing it quietly, hoping you won't even notice about it.
You can search the web with real and organic.
Past 24 hours, we saw the clearest signs yet that Russia and China are not bluffing. They just quietly maneuvered their nuclear assets into positions to mount an offensive against NATO, warning NATO, stop it now. You're sending another $100 billion into Ukraine and now to the Middle East. You're putting aircraft carriers in our backyard. Stop provoking us by positioning all of these war assets right in our backyard, or we will attack you. And if that happens, we will not be able to stop it, by the way. Former U.S. Marine, former U.S. weapons inspector Scott Ritter just told me that our military would lose and lose badly.
The United States Army just had a shortfall in recruiting. They are literally tens of thousands of personnel short of what their authorized manning strength is, which means instead of expanding the U.S. Army, they have to shrink it. They don't have enough men or women to fill the ranks. And so certain units, certain capabilities are being taken down to zero because you don't have manpower to do this. And now Congress is talking about beefing up. With what? Are you going to go to a draft? Have you run that by the American people?
So this is happening right now. And if you're an investor, you need to pay attention to what's happening. On the military front, yes, over the past few hours, Russia and China started quietly maneuvering their nuclear assets into these key positions to mount an offensive. Stealth nuclear submarines, hypersonic missiles capable of total annihilation, by the way, are now pointed squarely at billions of innocent people. And Russia says, we're not bluffing. Here's Putin specifically talking about this.
Взяли, затащили две авиационные группировки в Средиземное море. Хочу сказать, это не угроза, то, что я сейчас, по моему поручению, военно-воздушные силы, военно-космические силы России начинают на постоянной основе патрулирование в нейтральной зоне воздушного пространства над Черным морем. И наши самолеты МиГ-31 вооружены комплексами «Кинжал».
So Putin is now patrolling the Black Sea for the first time ever, putting hypersonic missiles in place. And just so you understand, these Kinzhal missiles cannot be shot down by anything that the United States has in its arsenal. Again, nothing we have can shoot these down. This is an enormous nightmare for the United States. Here's how they work.
Traditional ballistic missiles follow a parabolic trajectory, a predictable arc that goes up and down like a ball. It means they can be detected early in flight. Hypersonic glide vehicles work differently. They exploit physics using drag and friction so they can fly in all directions like an aircraft, but at super fast speeds, making them very difficult to detect until it's too late.
And Germany this morning is now confirming that there was a peace plan in place where Ukraine would surrender to Russia and this war would be over. But Germany now admits that NATO and the United States put a stop to it. They called off the peace agreement. Why in the world would they do that? Well, because the globalist cabal that runs NATO, the World Economic Forum, clearly wants this war, and they want war in the Middle East. They want to push their agenda forward. And over the past few days, multiple pieces of Klaus Schwab's Great Reset plan have started to roll out, using the guise of war to do it. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is happening. I think this tweet sums it up perfectly, as Zero Hedge pointed out. Those who once stood united due to their experiences of a manipulated COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent rollout of experimental vaccines are now all divided over a manipulated situation involving Palestine and Israel. Please give yourselves a pat on the back. You deserve a medal. Doesn't that sum it up nicely? We're all being manipulated again. Here are the Great Reset items that have been rolled out due to this conflict over the past few days. And Who's going to step in and complain about it? Who's going to rally and say, we don't want this? Censorship. That's the first one they did. Major calls for suppression of freedom of expression have sprouted up everywhere since this war started. It's just another excuse to curb free speech. In the European Union, Commissioner Thierry Breton, did you see this? Sent warning letters out to every major social media platform. That's right, claiming they need to combat disinformation regarding Israel and threatening them with fines if they don't, meaning censor people who are critical of what appears to be a massive genocide, which is about to unfold. So if you're critical of that and you don't want the U.S. to be involved in it, threaten them with fines, shut them down. Journalists finding themselves arrested in the United Kingdom for exposing the truth of what's happening in Ukraine and now Israel. Freedom of speech being shut down is exactly what they want. World Economic Forum stooge Jacinda Ardern, of course, leading this push. She's the former disgraced Prime Minister of New Zealand. She was one of Klaus Schwab's young World Economic Forum global leaders. She's now pushing for this censorship regime. Next up, facial recognition software, which is a major threat to your right to privacy. That's being ramped up. There's a number of states in the U.S. that are trying to ban it outright, saying, no way, we don't want this. But liberals in the Biden administration are pushing it big time in order to protect you. And of course, the intelligence community wants this. They absolutely do. They will know all of your movements, whether you like it or not. Police have also introduced Section 60AA powers in the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in central London. They basically ask every protester, remove your face coverings so their identity cannot be concealed. Here's the news.
What's been happening in the last hour is that police have introduced Section 60AA powers, and they've been engaging with protesters, asking them to remove any face coverings that they might have, based on, they say, a reasonable belief of serious violence.
And these reporters just go along with it. They sort of parrot what the police say. So now the police have the power to scan your face, track everything you do, thanks to these extraordinary wartime powers. The globalists are also shutting down independent media. They're banning YouTube channels. They're being banned left and right. We've had a number of friends who've had their channels shut down over the past week. So we need to take away your freedoms, they say, including cash. We don't want you using cash anymore. Over the past few months, ATMs are being shut down all over the Western world. Cash machines disappearing. Tens of thousands of them were shut down during the COVID lockdowns. And the plan is to remove all cash machines by the year 2037. So no more cash. They want you using CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. So guys, all of these things are happening. Don't be fooled by them because they're using war to take away your freedoms.